So, we are going to be drawing chibi bodies. Chibi bodies. So, let me explain what chibi bodies are. Chibi bodies tend to come from anime, and it's normally when the characters are really tiny and they have like really minuscule hands, and that is how they like are stylized. Okay. A chibi character will be a nice little character that would never be balanced in real life. Drawing something a little bit simpler could consist of drawing simpler shapes and all this stuff. So let's consist of drawing maybe the head as a little circle, and then we could simplify the body as another circle. But if we do that, we get a lot less information that we need to fill. And when we use little techniques like just drawing little nubbies at the end of our shape of our circle, we can start getting a semblance for that little like Pillsbury Doughboy look that we kind of want from these little guys. Once you're able to draw little nubbies on a head, you can start using your perspective to start dividing this into 4. Once you learn how to divide a sphere into 4, you can use each one of these segments to draw one little section. And once you find that magic ratio, well, then you can just add whatever size head you want to anything. And that is how you can start drawing some really cute stuff like Pokemon or whatever you feel like actually drawing. Yay! Good evening, y'all. How's it going? So, if you want to draw something with chibi proportions, all you really need to learn to do is draw 2 circles together. The bottom one should divide into 4. The top one can be whatever styling you want for your little human, right? Most chibi characters have all the features on the bottom part, so just keep that in mind. They normally have the features on the bottom so that the forehead is big. That is the only reason why the features are on the bottom. Okay? The features are on the lower part so that their forehead is big so that it looks like a kid. If the features are in the middle, it's going to look like a normal adult. But if you draw the features low, you give yourself a bigger forehead, giving yourself more kid-like features. The higher up the eyes are, the less you get that. You get more of like an adult look or a more young adult thing. So the big difference that happens is pretty huge, and that's just shifting it a little bit. So you have to be aware of all that stuff as you draw. So now that we have our eyes in the right place, give those eyebrows. We're going to use our little circle, and each one of these little circle spots is going to be a nubby. Finding the perspective for these guys is really easy. You already drew a circle with a midline and a cross to come up with the 4 sections, right? So all you got to do to find the different things for like clothing and stuff is just draw other circles inside. So if I just draw other circles, I give myself more guidelines, and I can just choose one of them and make clothing Do the same thing for the arms, same thing for the legs. And you can create really simple characters like that. He's gonna live to 200. So the body itself of a chibi character is just a sphere divided into 4 parts, with little nubbies coming from each one. And if you touch the edges of them, you can give them perspective. So now you don't have to be relegated to just drawing nubbies. You can draw like nubbies with hands, nubbies with perspective. And you can have fun with these super simple shapes, making them into anything you feel like. This small 2 minutes I've seen from you so far is gold. Thank you. So a normal character maybe would have the head like this, but a chibi character has a big head. So you would just draw the head like that. Well, the cutesy chibi stuff, normally the cuteness of it comes from understanding how proportions work, right? If you have a face and you draw your features in the middle, the character is going to look kind of like a normal standard character. If you want something cuter, you need to make the eyes bigger and move them down. So make the eye bigger, move all the features down, and all of a sudden, this space right here creates a kid-like look to your design, therefore giving you a more heavy, cutesy appeal. The big eyes, combined with the bigger forehead, is what provides that cute look to your design. So anything that you draw with a really little bottom part of their face with big eyes is gonna look incredibly cute. Anything you draw like that is gonna have like a more cutesy look. That's why a lot of times pinups get drawn with a very small profile for the bottom part of their face. And so they have that more youthful look with a bigger forehead that so many people like to draw. So that is why people do that. So drawing cute characters, first of all, is going to come from a bigger forehead ratio to the actual head. Right? Anything you draw, if you give it a bigger forehead, you're going to have a cuter look. Big eyes are also a big factor in cuteness. And little tiny features. Little tiny features will help you have more control. If you draw cheeks, big cheeks help. Big forehead. Again, like a bear or a baby, something like that could work. So this applies to both human and kids, yeah, and animals. And the whole body proportion thing applies too. Just draw another little circle, divide that in 4. Each one of these is going to be a nubby. And just like that, you can draw little animals or little humans. Relatively easy. So, ta-da! Does that make sense? If it makes sense, I want to see a lot of hearts. If it makes sense, I want to see that shit flow. I've been a little sick the last couple days. Is this on YouTube? It'll be. It'll be. So it'll be like how to draw chibi characters, or how to like draw like characters with small bodies, or it'll be named something like that. Again, whatever shape head you're gonna draw, followed by a little circle with 4 sections, can lead you to draw really cute chibi bodies really easy. If you guys want like an anime styling, you can just draw your anime styling. So chibi characters are remarkably easy to draw, and you can have a lot of fun once you learn how to do overlapping lines. Once you start learning how to do overlapping lines, all those little 4 sections can start overlapping each other, and you can start having fun with posing. So if you're drawing things like little animals, you can start getting a semblance for how they move. Could you do a man hip, torso hips? I can't seem to draw it very well. We're going to be talking mostly about chibi characters today. So it's not a normal class. This one's more like a thank you because someone's going to... someone just asked really nicely, hey guys. That's the only way that I can say it. Keep my... Yeah, no. You can just... we can ask all the questions you guys want in the mornings, though. Yeah, whenever you guys are, like, in the mornings, like, I feel free to ask anything you guys want. Absolutely anything you guys feel like. In the afternoons, I tend to be more like study sessions for myself. And they tend to be involving much more, like, music. And I just like to, like, draw and explore my own brain a couple hours a day. So the afternoon ones, if I do teach, it's normally more based on like me really feeling up for it. And I do that separation just mostly so that I don't burn out. So whatever face you have, draw a little body by drawing a circle or a little egg with 4 little sections, and each one of those little sections can move individually as a little starfish or like a little nubby. And that's how you can draw little chibi characters super easy. Can you draw the green baby? No, I don't know what that a green baby from a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is. Jesus Christ, dude, like who? No. No. How about no? I just a simple, plain no. Stop asking me to draw characters. I don't know your characters, most likely. I haven't really had the time to sit down and watch a cartoon in like 2 years. So I'm like far behind on knowledge about nerdsum, and it makes me feel sad because I don't have time to watch the anime. So it's just like I wish I knew all that stuff, but I don't. So stop asking because it's not gonna get drawn anyways. I don't do fan art. This is not that stream. I'm not the draw Marvel stuff or like little like characters and stuff like that. That's not what I do. I can, I just don't. Right? I can draw the superhero characters just as well as any other person in the industry. Like, it's hilarious to the point where I can actually compete with people now. Like, you name it. Like, I just never had the inclination to actually apply for companies like that because I just don't feel like you get anything out of them. Yeah, you get like, ooh, someone is gonna tell me that I did a good job, give me a bonus or whatever, and then just take credit for everything I did. Awesome. That sounds like a great trade-off. No. No, 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 no. No, not to me at least. That is not my dream. So, now, does that make sense? Does the whole concept of drawing a bigger shape for a head with the features on the bottom and your body being smaller in the shape of a circle with four little nubbies on each one of those little sections, that should be a relatively easy concept to remember, right? Now, when you remember these concepts, remember that all these can go in any direction, right? These can go up, these can go down, these can go at the back, and these can like move in any direction within that little space. So you have a lot of mobility within these little characters. You just have to learn what overlaps what, right? For example, if your arm is out, if you draw it behind your head, you're not going to be able to see it. So you have to kind of break the rule a little bit just to be able to get certain positions to work. And that's going to come from like just practice and playing around with like different positions, seeing what works, being analytical, adjusting, and like actually paying attention to your craft, right? Like that's just where that's going to come from. It's 80 to 20 rules of composition. Nah, I don't know. Is that a rule? Is that a rule? Like, I hate percentages. Like, unless it's like 50-50, I hate saying, like, it's like 75-25 rule. Like, nah, dude. It's just, like, eh. I hate that. I hate numbers that aren't quantifiable, right? Like, I can't just out of the fly be like, what's 75% of this? And then put it in perspective. Like unless I do that and then I always draw the same pose so that I can always get that same measurement, that is not going to work for me. Right? It's just not going to work. So the way that I have to visualize things is different. It's just different. I just draw through my shapes and I find that exact shape in space regardless of the angle. So if this character was going to be like placed differently, let's say that this is the face, and I needed the body to be doing something different, like doing a Superman towards me, I know that if I draw my body down here, it's going to be normal. So I need to move that body up. And then by drawing through my shape, I can just draw my shape up more. And ooh, guess what? Now I have my skydiving pose or whatever, right? Because I'm not afraid to draw through my shape, I can do that. Because it's literally just taking that shape and then just shifting it up. What happens if you keep on shifting it up? Well, you end up in a position where you end up with a character looking in a completely different angle. How much time do you spend sketching a day? Lately, it's been like 6 hours. Lately, it's been a little bit lower than I normally do. On average, on a good day, I spend about 16 hours drawing. On a good day. Like that's if I like have projects and I'm streaming and I'm like inspired to draw something cool at the end of the day for myself. Yeah, that sounds about right. But the thing is, this is my job, right? So this is my job. So I essentially spent my whole career trying to make this happen, to make it so that I would have the ability to draw that much for myself. So that was the purpose of my career. For 20 years, I spent my days and nights and free time building the skills necessary to be able to do this for the rest of my life. Not until I retire, not until I get tired of it, because I don't get tired of this. I'm going to do this till I die. And if you don't feel like that about your job, I highly suggest you change jobs. If you don't feel like you could do what you're doing forever and die happy knowing you're fulfilled, then maybe you gotta really look into what else is gonna fulfill you. Because that's the silent killer right there, man. Is it possible to send you the progress I've made off your work? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I would love that. Hello, Frederick Bullwinkle. How are you today? Remember, guys, as you guys come into the chat, make sure that you guys are liking the stream at least once so that you guys can help me grow as a content creator. With your guys' help, we've reached up to like 70, 80,000 people in one afternoon, like in 1 hour. We've reached a ridiculous amount of time. We are constantly in the 99 percentile of TikTok streams. You guys know that? Like we are normally on the highest percentile of people in the TikTok streams of constant view and like people that stick around and like out of engagement. We're 99 percentile. That's fucking dope. Do you ever think about making your own art studio? Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have my own art studio. My art now studio is technically 12 Pixel Studios. That is my art studio. That is my like what I do freelance through. And that is mine. That's what RODGON is. RODGON is this entity right here. So whenever I bill anybody, it's normally through 12 Pixel Studios. Yeah, just send it to my TikTok DMs or my Instagram DMs. I'm an architect. I love your work. Ever think about the building design while you sketch? Ever think about the building design? Oh, like you like buildings? Yeah, all the time. I love drawing like architecture and stuff. It's actually really, really cool. Like, I used to spend my time drawing industrial complexes. Like, whenever I was on break, when I was working for a company called FSD, I would spend my time just going outside and drawing the industrial complexes and seeing like how I can make them look interesting. Like, how can you make something like a building look decent really, really quickly without overcomplicating it or making it look like it's too overly worked? And then working on perspective and stuff like that is always really fun. You know, like it's just good to know it so that you can get better at it, so that you can apply it later on to any sort of scenario where you got to tell a story or you got to tell a scene or anything. Would you send it? Yeah. Yeah, buildings are fun, dude. Like, especially when you just base it off of just like a single point perspective. And you gotta like build like stores and you gotta build like signs and things that people do, like drive through windows. Like, it's just actually a super fun skill to learn. But so many people have this like weird stigma that it's boring and like annoying or whatever. And you know where that comes from, right? Like, you know where all that like resentment comes from? That comes from not being able to do it. That just comes from people not being able to do it, getting frustrated, and then they hate it. But guess what? Like, you know, like someone told me recently this. Not everybody gets to be an artist. And that made a lot of sense, right? Not everybody gets to be a lawyer. Not everybody gets to do everything. So when you put that in perspective, it makes you have to work harder to be able to get to what you really want, right? If not everybody gets to do it, then maybe I have to work really fucking hard so that I can be one of those people that do it. You know, like that's literally how I see it. So, yeah, it's not hard, it's not easy, but it's not necessarily something you should back away from just because it's hard. As a matter of fact, if it's hard for you, more likely you should be working on it 10 times more because it is hard. That way, it's not hard for you anymore. Eventually, it will stop being hard for you if you do it enough. Me too. When I be... Oh, yeah, I'll be live tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday. Tomorrow is my 40th birthday. And no one to celebrate it with. How sad is that? Yeah, December 12th. So tomorrow I'm going to spend it with my puppy. I'll most likely go to like a steakhouse and treat myself to like some like Brazilian barbecue or something like that for myself. I'll bring my sketchbook, I'll doodle and just have fun listening to music and, you know, just come home and just rest. Like, I don't know, like I never make anything out of my birthday because nobody ever makes anything out of my birthday. You know, so eventually you stop thinking you're special enough to be able to like do parties or anything like that. And when nobody ever did, nobody really ever did. So it's like, you just lose the value of it. It's just another day for you eventually. Get a girlfriend as a Sagittarius. I say do some fun. I don't have a girlfriend. Technically, I guess I don't know, man. If I do have one, I guess it's in Scotland. But we don't really both know the situation there, so that's just difficult. So I don't know. So that's always a little interesting, the uncertainty. Yeah, it'll be okay though. It's fine. I'll spend it with my puppers, and I'll go watch a movie or something. Sagittarius is your birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday or late birthday to you as well. So essentially, if we break down this lesson, right? Spontaneous ticket to Scotland. If I was invited, I would go immediately. I'll just put it like that. If I was invited and I was asked to go, I would be there immediately. But I need an invitation to be asked to go. You know? My brain does not allow me to not think I'm a burden to people unless I get invited to places. I am one of those human beings that is incapable of showing up to a party unless I am directly invited. I am also incapable of going anywhere feeling comfortable unless someone directly tells me that I'm okay to be there. Because otherwise I will feel like a burden and I feel like a person that is not supposed to be there in my fight or flight Anxiety kicks in, and then I end up running away. So if that chance was there for me feeling comfortable going, I would have bought a ticket a long time ago and left a long time ago. But again, it's not there. So anyways, all right, let's keep on drawing more chibi stuff. So after analyzing the simple concept of the chibi proportions, you will understand that as long as you draw something smaller than your head shape, you're gonna get a chibi body. It could be a slightly longer chibi body, ta-da! Or you can have a minuscule, like I'm saying, like tiny little bodies, right? And as long as you keep those proportions in play right, they're gonna look proper. You want to meet me one day? You know what? I am a pretty cool person in person. I have been told multiple times over that I am one of the most inspirational human beings to set a room in with. And not from just one person, it's been multiple people. So I like to think I'm pretty cool. I don't know why I don't have many more friends. I honestly don't. And I have a feeling it's because I don't really need anybody. Right? Like everybody assumes that I'm like okay, like well off. And I am. I'm okay. Like I'm normally very much okay with my loneliness and my happiness being by myself. But it's an interesting concept when nobody really worries about you because you aren't a person that ever needs to be worried about. So I don't get texts, I don't get messages, I don't get like, hey, how you doing type of things because everybody just assumes I'm doing great. And I portray myself in a light where nobody ever really has to ever worry about me because I don't like making people worried. So it's just a fun, interesting dynamic to be a hermit. To be a hermit and to still be like a person that requires human interaction because that's my love language. Literally, like touch is my love language. And it's like, it's weird. There's a difference between not needing anyone and telling yourself you don't need anybody. I don't know. Is there? I mean, if you believe yourself, there's no real difference. The only difference is if you don't really trust in your own judgment. Right? Like if you don't believe in your own like way of thinking, then yeah, then but if you're comfortable in being like who you are normally, and you know that solitude is normally the easiest for you. I wouldn't say it's like the only thing I need, but it's easier to be alone. It's much, much easier to be alone than it is to be with someone. Especially for a person like me. Because I give. There's I can't say no to people. And that's the problem with me. I can't say no. If I like you, if I am enamored with you, if I am in any way, shape, or form seeing you as a person that I enjoy being around, be it friend or whatever, you are now gonna be taken care of to the best of my abilities, even if you're my friend. Because that's the point, right? Like you build your friends as people that you cherish and you want to be a part with. So in my brain, it's like, well, yeah, if I build my family, if I build my own, like, clan, technically, then I'm going to look out for every single one of them. Because that's something that I would want to do. Not an obligation, just it would be something that I would want to do. But I don't meet a lot of people that reciprocate that feeling. So it ends up being a lot of people just use you. And after enough people do that, well, you kind of just stop trying. Chibi characters. Chibi Superman. Flying through the skies. Choo, 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 choo. Big ass chin as well. TikTok live therapy session. You know, I have learned a lot in not art wars, but I've learned a lot about myself in the last year. I have learned an incredible amount about myself in the last year, and I have learned that just the most pain that I have ever felt in my life, right, has been from the people that I've loved the most in my life. So I don't trust myself anymore. I do not trust myself with like the decisions that I make. And that's a weird place to be at 40. It's super weird to be there where you're like, you second guess even the things that you like. You second guess even the people you like. It's weird. All right, so let's move on to the next page and let's do more chibi stuff. Love hurts, and that's what we're warning about it. You must be a damn masochist, man. I don't like pain. I hate pain. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I don't know anybody that really does. You gotta love better people. I think the people I love are nice and fine. I think I just don't know when to. I just never know when the person is done with me. So I always end up being the person that gets told when they're still invested, So it's just an interesting situation. It's just life. Boop, boo, doo, boo. Anyways, normal bodies have a lot more height, length, girth. A chibi body doesn't have any of that. Circle of 4. So the difference between drawing a chibi body and drawing a human body should not be confused with each other, because this is not the way that you would draw this. Like if you decided that you wanted to draw the human body a little bit more detailed, you are going to need to add more length in between the elements. So it no longer becomes a 2-section thing like this. It becomes a 3-section thing. Right? And once you have 3 sections, then you can have your proper spacing. So this goes from being a 2-part, right, where you just draw your sections coming out from these, into a 3-part, where you have 1, 2, 3. And then you can start building your bodies a little bit more accurate based on that. My friend had a teacher and asked, "What's the point of love?" And she responded, "What? It's to find someone you can imagine your whole life with." Oh, I've imagined my life with a handful of people. I'm a very imaginative person. So that's never going to be a problem. Like if I'm enamored with the person, like in my head, I'm like, I'm already with them for the rest of my life. It's not a matter of, that's not a problem. That's not the issue. Whoa, you're imaginative. Never would have guessed. Do you picture stuff in your head before drawing? I do not. I'm like a scanner. I have mastered I have mastered the art of abstract drawing. So I can make any shape into anything. I can honestly make any shape into anything. So if I wanted to make this, I don't know, like name something. Name something and I'll see if I can turn that into that. I'll make a couple shapes. A turtle. That's an easy turtle. It's going to be eating something. Turtle. What else? A squid. See, squids are easy because squids have like so many tentacles and stuff like that, right? So all you gotta do to draw a squid is just draw tentacles at the end of any shape and just draw your eyes. Now, squiddy. Yeah. They also have a little tip like that. The turtle is my spirit animal. Some dude's face. Faces are the easiest thing in the world to draw for me. I was a caricature artist for a very long time. And I was also one of the people that used to teach the other caricature artists how to draw stuff. So drawing faces out of stuff is literally in my DNA. Let's draw a couple more. A void demon. Well, I'm guessing a void demon would be something really scary, right? Like something really creepy. So that would require a lot of sketch lines and just making it look super trippy as fuck. So let's make something that looks like it's laughing with its jaw open. Maybe have their tongue out. Draw some empty eyes into the void. And then from there we could have like some demon ears. And then have his neck and stuff like that into like little tiny wings. Let's see what else. Somebody said a seahorse. I don't remember what seahorses look like. So I'm gonna attempt my best at a seahorse, but don't judge me if it doesn't look right. A snail. Snails are easy. No, I guess snail from a random shape would be a little bit harder, but a snail in itself is really easy. Your drawings look so alive. I don't know how to describe it. No, thank you. So as you guys can see, this kind of applies to a bunch of different things, right? Like if you have enough mental resources, you can draw anything from anything. And when you combine the mental library with the combination of just learning basic shapes, right? You can use all these basic shapes to be able to draw absolutely anything you want. Like this could be a body really easily. Or this could be a face. Your imagination is what's going to lead these things to be what you need. So once you understand the concept of bodies, you can start applying that concept to something else. And then when it, this is like Inception. Inception beanbags. So understanding one element of the body can easily lead to be able to understand the rest of them. I forget how their eyes are. Do they have like little mandibles? The face is the body. Yeah, it's just a beanbag. A beanbag can be anything. I just saw your gorgeous mustache. You guys want to see a face cam? Hold on, let me flip this around. I'll talk to you guys a little bit. Hold on. Let me flip this. Flip camera. Well, hello, my good friends. How are you guys? Normally, you see this hand, and this is all you see. But this is my face. How are you guys doing? I look how I sound. I think that's a good thing. Yeah, the mustache is definitely a good one. Hold on. See, oh yeah. Also, I'm fit. I draw myself chubby all the time, but I'm actually just chubby in here. So yeah, that's my face, guys. Anyways, I'm gonna flip this around so you guys get to see my hand do what the hand does best. Okay? So, ask away. Keep it coming. Bro is a... What's a giga chat? You're a jolly guy behind the camera. Yeah. I like to be as happy as I can possibly be every day. I'm a person that suffers from heavy depression sometimes. I'm a very, very, very depressive human being. So whenever I can, I try to stay as positive as I can so that I can avoid having those depressive episodes. So I constantly reinforce that my life has to be without any sort of drama. So again, that comes with relationships too, right? Like it's just normally like, oh, you hurt my feelings. Oh, you did this. Oh my God, you did that. Oh, you can't do this. You can't. I'm like, you know what, dude? It's easier to be alone. It's just so much easier to be alone. Like my life is always complicated if I have to take other people's like life into consideration. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. Might be a very selfish human being, I guess. But I don't think so, because my puppy would say no. My puppy would never, ever say I'm a bad or a selfish person. So therefore, his opinion matters over most people's. You helped me a lot. Always great seeing you and learning what you do. Yeah, I have a puppy. His name is Mustache. And one day I'll learn how to draw him really good. But until now, he's just like this little beautiful little fucking monster of a poop machine. And I love him. Seriously, like I get spouts of loneliness that are horrible, right? So getting him was the best idea that I've ever had. Like I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to take care of him the way that he needed. You know, like, I was terrified. Like for like 20 years of my life, I wanted a dog, but I never thought that I had like the capacity to take care of a dog the way that it would need to be able to be happy and fulfilled. Not just be another person that gets a dog and then just like, you know, neglects it, right? Like that's the fucking like that was a nightmare. That was like the thought that I was like, oh my god, I'm just gonna be one of those other people, just like making another shitty dog, just like barking and being like, I don't know, no, I didn't want that. So I thought about it a lot before I decided to have them and get them and stuff like that. And it's been absolutely lovely, like having something that loves you unconditionally, just fucking adores you just for being alive. I needed that. See, I don't know if I would call him an emotional support dog, but it's definitely helping my emotions. So he's not necessarily an emotional support dog because he doesn't have like all the paperwork and stuff like that, but he's helping me with my emotions. So I would say so. The little mustache is gonna be in my. I'm gonna draw him with all the pinups. I used to have this little character called Archie, right? I haven't drawn him in a while, but Archie used to be the character that I used to draw with all my pinups. Archie was or is still the representation, the visual representation of my happiness. This dude hasn't been around in a while because, well, you guys do the math. I haven't really been very happy. So he hasn't been like a very big component in my art. But he was always a character that was drawn with like a really big tail, and the tail had like a life of its own. And he was kind of like a red panda slash raccoon mix. So that was like just Archie. So now Archie is gonna be replaced most likely with Mustache. So I'm gonna try to draw Mustache in a similar way, but give him the features of a little schnauzer. Because he's just so adorable. Lucky dog. He's gonna get to hang out with a yeah. Well, eventually, I want to get to the point where I can get like I'm just gonna hire some models or something to take pictures with him, and then I'm going to use those as references for my drawings. So that way, I have like them cuddling up with him, and then I'm like, I have the perfect reference for a person cuddling up with a little cute animal, and then I can just draw them doing that really, really cool. And eventually come up with a whole book where he has like, you know, like he's interacting with all these cute girls. You know, like it'll just be like them at the beach or something like that. and just having like mustache doing something like pulling their bathing suits or something like that, you know? That would be really cool. That's essentially, that would be perfect. Like, that would be like so awesome to just have them like be able to do little things like that. You volunteer? If you're in the Southern California area, we can set up a shoot. That'd be great. He just needs to go and get his final vaccinations. So if you're interested, we can actually totally do that. But it has to be until January, I think, at least, because that's when his final shots happen, and I don't want to risk him ever getting sick. So he doesn't get to meet anybody or hang out with anybody else other than me until he gets his shots completed. Can you show how to do water real quick? Yeah. So water is just another texture, right? So much similar to things like grass and wood, right? Water is just another texture that we can really quickly replicate by using the proper strokes, the proper techniques. By learning a little bit of what water does when you're actually seeing it is going to help you understand how water works. So let's draw a cliff, and then we'll draw some water underneath it. Draw another side with more grass. Okay. Some bushes. As you guys can see, all these are just literally like zigzag lines, just applied in different ways. Right? So now we have a middle ground, we have a background, and we have to have a foreground. So I'm going to draw some more grass in the front just to create a foreground. So very quickly, we went from having no scene to having a scene with something resembling grass, some sort of rock, some bushes, and we have a semblance of something here. How do we make this look like water? Well, a very easy way to do it is if you have a light source, let's say the sun, take your light source into consideration, and wherever that would hit, that is going to be the line for your light source. Anything that would be not hit by that, for example, this wall right here, it would create a shadow. Well, that's where the shadows go, right? But this little line that you're drawing, because this is the reflection of the sun, right? That's what's happening. You're reflecting anything that you're seeing. So this is going to be distorted by ripples. The ripples are just the distortions, the little waves inside of that texture. So as you draw those and you give a semblance of light source, well, you end up with a semblance of water. You end up overlapping some of those lines so that it doesn't look like a complete perfect reflection, and you end up with the texture of water. Now, if you want something coming out of it, let's say like a little tadpole thingy or whatever they're called, right? Well, if you have something coming out of it, there's probably going to be ripples that happen around your shape, as well as a shadow, and as well as something akin of showing how that element would be underneath. Anything underneath the water, anything that goes underneath the water, let's say that we have like, I don't know, a flower or something, okay? And it's gonna go underneath the water, it would create ripples, and then it would start fading from a slight shadow to nothing, because the water the depth of the water would eventually make it just disappear. You can add little details like fish and stuff like that by just silhouetting them in there. Things like plants and stuff like that underneath the water are perfectly okay too if the water's not too deep. And overall, anything that's hitting the walls or anything that's coming out of the water just has to have some ripples on the outside to represent that there's movement in that section. How would one do an awkward pose? Well, if you have to do an awkward pose, well, you got to figure out what would be awkward. Like, what is an awkward pose? Is like putting your foot forward and your back and bending your arms the opposite way of your head. Would that be an awkward pose? What awkward pose would you want to draw? So, yeah, awkward poses. Well, there's a lot of awkward poses. You can have an awkward pose by just literally like changing the angle in which your arms go. When you keep it simple, it becomes easy. Okay? When you make it hard, it becomes hard. Posing doesn't have to be hard. Okay? Posing does not have to be overly complicated. Learning how your body works can help you a lot through observation, just looking at how human beings actually move, how they connect. You have to be able to break past the shit that you got taught. I found the biggest hurdle for me was forgetting the stuff that I got taught wrong. Forgetting what I got taught wrong was literally the first step to being able to actually progress. Because I had been following the same guidelines from the same teachers, the same methods, and it wasn't clicking. It just wasn't clicking. And I felt stupid. I honestly felt stupid. I felt deterred from like continuing. I felt like, okay, maybe it's just me. I don't have the skill for this. I clearly don't see the things other people do. So maybe it's just not for me. Right? And thank God I didn't. Thank God I didn't give up on this shit. Because all it took is just understanding that I was not a goddamn fish. Right? I was somebody that wasn't a fish trying to swim as a fish. Or I was trying to climb a tree as a fish. When I'm not meant to climb trees. I'm meant to do my own thing in my own element, and then I can feel comfortable about it. And once I found my own way of doing things, combining that with the knowledge that I had acquired from other people, well, that led to understanding human anatomy in a way that I never thought I was going to be able to do. Like that led to me understanding human anatomy to levels that I personally never thought I would achieve. And that was just all stuff that happened within the last 3 or 4 months. Like all this is easy for me now. And at the beginning of the sketchbook, we were literally like, all right, okay, this is the first thing that we learned that's actually decent. We learned sushis, right? That was the very first lesson in this book. We decided it was going to be a theme of posing. And since October 25th, so it's been like 3 months, 2 months. Within that amount of time, we have progressed to the point where this is just intuition. It's only been 2.5 months. And now I can pose characters in any way that I want. And you can do the same thing. You can learn the same thing, the same way, the same approach, and you guys can get there incredibly quickly. Yeah, I know. I haven't even needed to add correction post-its. That's the nuts part, right? It's getting to the point where if they're in there, it's just because they're cool now. It's not because they're correcting a lot of things. It's just because I actually like the lesson that I had on my post-it. But it's really like the comparison to the other books that I've had. If you guys have any of my books, you guys will see that there's a ton of mistakes and they're covered by post-its, right? But this one doesn't. And it's getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner every single time. It's really cool. Can I draw wrinkles on clothes? I can absolutely draw all the wrinkles on all the clothes. We talked about that earlier this week, I believe. If not earlier today, I forget the days of the week, honestly. I forget even what day I'm in. I know it's Monday, I think. So if you're drawing clothes, you're going to want to learn how to find perspective in your shapes. Why? Why is it important to find perspective within my volumes? I hate sneezing so much. I hate sneezing. I hate mucus. I hate everything about being sick. Everything. And I should not be sick on my birthday. Okay? Fuck that shit. That's not cool. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, bless you. Forced sneezes are supposed to... Hey, don't tell me that. Lie to me. Don't tell me I'm going to have bad luck. Lie to me and tell me it's going to be amazing. Anyways, once you find your basic shape for your legs, be it like this or be it like this or whatever way you find it, right? Whatever way you find your volume for your legs, find circles inside so that you can use those to find your clothing. Let's say you have like a pair of shorts. Take one of those lines, make it bigger. Now you have shorts. Yay! Now, let's say you have pants. Well, your pants aren't going to hug, unless they're skinny jeans, they're not going to hug your leg all the way. So they're going to have a little more volume than your leg. Let's say it's like, I don't know, like pants, like, I don't know, sweatpants. And they have like the little cuff by the foot. So by there, it hugs it. Everything else is going to have extra volume. Ba-da-da-da-da. So you take that extra volume and you choose which one of these little things you want to use as little fold lines, because they're all going to give you overlapping lines. Yay, now you know how to draw pants. Things like skirts just go around both legs. So you draw a circle around both legs. If you want a skirt that's not just going to be skin tight, you draw the circle bigger. And then you flare it out to whatever you want. Congratulations, you have skirts. If you want raincoats, just split it in the front to whatever that specification is. Yeah, you have raincoats and jackets and shit. Woohoo! The top of your garments most likely are going to end up on your neck. So they just go around your neck and they go back down. Things like hoodies and stuff like that apply to this principle. Okay? They go around and they create whatever surface you need based on that roundness from that initial circle. From there, you need to learn the volume of your arms. And that normally comes with understanding the collarbone and how your bones stick out. Once you understand how your bones stick out for your collarbone, you can give your arms volume with muscles and stuff like that. And then Again, your clothing is just going to be enhanced versions of these perspective lines. So if I want like super big shoulder pads, I can just draw shoulder pads up, and then I have shoulder pads. If I want like a really big boof jacket, I just add more volume to these lines. And whenever I see any overlapping lines that are going over each other, that's where all the little folds go. So now I have a big dude with a big, like, I don't know, shoulder pad. Let's match the shoulder pads here. Learning to draw through your shapes will be the hardest thing you learn and the most satisfying to do once you do. What is better, starting from the feet to the head? Who would start with the feet? Who starts with the feet? Why would you want to start with the feet? The feet give you no guidance to where your legs or bodies are supposed to go. If you have enough knowledge, yeah, you could build that up from there, obviously. But why would you ever start from your feet? That makes no sense at all. Like, why would you ever do that? Yeah, I start from the rib or I start from the hips. I normally start from either the hips or the ribs. So I can start with my ribs because it gives me access to my entire head shape really quickly, right? Or I can start with my legs because I have a certain pose that I want to hit or something like that. And then I add the other part. And then those two parts combine. And I have myself my bodies. So it literally takes 2 seconds for me to draw a pose. Can you draw a tactical gear? Nah, I don't really know much military gear, so I'm going to say no. Bro got me wondering why I start with legs. Why do you start with legs? Like, it really does make me wonder why you start with legs. So, how to draw people bending down? Well, I'm going to break your head right now. I'm going to break your brain, okay? Let me break your brain for a second. So, I'm going to show you how easy you can practice moving your body around. If you start with a circle and you start with two little shapes like this, you can create the lower body really quickly, right? If you add a little bit more volume to the top, you can come up with your pectoral muscles. From there, your collarbone is right on top and your head is up there. Once you understand this very basic concept, well, how hard would it be to rotate this around this way? Was that hard? How about this way? That wasn't very hard. When you start adding things like arms, you can start adding extra elements to your design. Rotating something around the sphere isn't very hard. Being creative about it is. So this character could be standing up, walking about, da 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 da, or he could be bending down, just as easy. And then whatever knowledge you have about anatomy, that's what's going to make it look really, really cool. So you can start with something like that. Let's draw a character bending down again to pick up something. Add some extra anatomy. And whatever you decide to do with this is going to be based on how much knowledge you have about anatomy. Like if you don't know how shoulders work, you won't be able to add that shoulder, right? If you don't know how hips work, you won't be able to connect that body part by just simply overlapping a line. If you don't know how your butt works with the bottom of your thigh, you won't understand the curvatures that are required for this, or the overlaps that can be reused to be able to create depth. If you don't know how the muscles of your calf work, it's going to be really hard for you to understand how these muscles overlap and create that subtlety. And if you don't know how your feet work, well, it becomes really difficult to draw things in cool poses and different angles. Okay? So, understanding your anatomy is the next step after you understand just very basic concepts like overlapping lines and shapes. Your anatomy is what is going to lead you later on to be able to draw all the detail that you feel like drawing, right? The thing is, most people skip this step. Most people skip learning this shit. Right? Most people want to go directly into the super detailed lines, and they want to learn how to draw abs and shadows and muscles and hip bone lines and every muscle known to man because they are drawing the Marvel way, the comic way, whatever comic book thing you picked up when you were younger that taught you how to draw muscles like balloons and circles and stuff like that. All those books are cool to get you all excited about going into art, but it's a lot of the things you're going to have to unlearn if you're going to want to actually progress. Because a lot of that stuff is stuff that is meant for real beginners, like people that don't really intend to do this as a serious thing, more like I just need to want to draw something. That's what a lot of those books are meant for. If you're actually intending of using that knowledge to create something like character designs and stuff like that, you need proper guidance so that you don't just draw the same things over and over and over again. Because that's not the job. The job of a character designer is to be able to take anything and come up with it into anything. Like, you have to be able to draw anything that anybody throws your way. Said, be it a human, or it could be like an animal, or a combination of both. Whichever way the project is going to call for, that is what you are required to draw. So you're going to be drawing a lot of things that are kind of weird, and you got to be able to do it effectively. Those jobs are really hard to get, by the way. So don't expect to be a character designer coming out of college and being a new person and getting those jobs. You're not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, right? Those jobs are coveted by every single individual in that industry. They're some of the hardest jobs to fulfill because they're some of the hardest jobs to do. Because you need to be good at everything. Everything. And I mean everything. I don't mean just be good at designing characters. No, you have to be good at absolutely everything from buildings to... you got to build the world. Essentially, you got to build worlds. That's your job. So if you are afraid of drawing buildings, or you're afraid of drawing organic stuff like trees, and you're afraid of drawing landscapes, you just want to do characters. Dude, get over that. You really have to get over that shit. Like, you really, really, really have to get over that. Because it's all connected. Everything is connected. Okay? If you want to draw awesome backgrounds and your characters, being able to do so, it's just an extra tool that you can use in your tool set, right? Knowing this information is not going to make you less of an artist. Jesus Christ, like, that's dumb. It's like thinking that knowing more math is going to make you a worse accountant. Like, that is like, some people like really annoy me sometimes because it's just so obvious. Like, the purpose of art is to tell a story. The whole purpose of art is to tell a story. Think about it. Anything art is trying to tell a story. The better you are at telling that story, the more it conveys what you want to tell, the more effective of an artist you are. So every tool, every lesson, every little thing, skill set, skill, tip, trick that you accumulate over your lifetime is essentially just different ways to convey a story better. Animation, sculpting, fine art, painting, journaling, any of that sort of art, even architecture. You're trying to sell a story. You're trying to tell people that that building is gonna be lively and amazing, and it's gonna have life, right? Down every single piece of artwork is meant to tell a story. So you gotta use any tool at your disposal to be able to create that. And the more effective you are at replicating reality and life in general, like, the more effective you're going to be at creating things like fantasy creatures and relatable characters that people want to follow and stuff. Do you have a four-legged animal basic template? Basic template. So, if you're drawing a four-legged animal, let's say a mammal, because that's going to be the closest thing to a human, you would have your rib cage, you would have your hip bones, and then you would have your collarbone. The collarbone would have my arms coming down, and then the back legs, they tend to bend a little bit different. So, depending on the animal you want, that's where your head would come out, whatever sort of volume for the face. The arms would come out from here, so that's where the arm is. The shoulders would be around this. You'd come down into whatever paws. And then the back legs coming out of these hip bone holes. So it's not necessarily a template, but it's a very basic way to be able to draw some animals. How can I draw a human? What can you do with your background after drawing your character? Huh? I drew my character. What can I do with my background? Well, whatever you want. What do you want to do with your background? Do you want to draw him in a backyard? You can draw him in a backyard with his bowl of water. Yay! Oh, you want to have like a little house for him? We can draw a little house for him in the background. Yay! Essentially, what you do with setting a background in the scene is essentially you're telling the story of what that character is doing, right? If you have the ability to be able to replicate different textures, different looks, different terrain, different like concepts, like just for visual storytelling, you're going to be more effective in general in most of your illustration work. So the backgrounds, I don't understand your question. Like literally the background is just there to help you ground your character. I want to share this with my 10-year-old daughter, but she doesn't use TikTok yet. I'll upload this one to YouTube so you have access to it. Yeah, I have a YouTube with a bunch of videos. How do you make hands expressive? Well, you learn how to use hands. You learn how to draw hands. That's how you make them expressive. A lot of people draw hands and they just look at the silhouette, right? If they want to draw a fist, they just go like, okay, well, it's kind of like a box and then this happens and then kind of like my forearm kind of does like this thing like that. And then they just draw this and they draw like a line and they're like, yeah, look at my hand. I know how to draw hands. Or they'll be like, here's a line, and then they'll be like, here's the finger, the princess approach. So they'll just do something like that. And they'll be like, look at me, I know how to draw hands. The problem with hands like this is that they're not very expressive whatsoever, right? Like at all. So understanding how your actual body parts move within your hand is going to help you be able to draw these in any direction you want. So instead of thinking of your hand like a shape, think of your hand as 4 different elements. Your wrist, 4 knuckles, and a shape that goes like that. The fingers can be in any direction you want. I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Right? So this could be a top, this could be a bottom, anything. So again, wrist, draw 4 knuckles, 4 circles, draw the top and the bottom edges connecting, and that is the palm of your hand. Your fingers come from the palm of your hand. Right? So, as long as you have your wrist and you draw 4 circles, you have the top and the bottom of your hand and just connect it back to your wrist. Draw cylinders or bean bags or whatever you want coming out of these shapes, and you have yourself a relatively interesting hand shape. The more time you take on them, obviously it's going to look cleaner. Let's draw a nice, pretty one so you guys see what it looks like. So you have your wrist. You draw 4 knuckles. They're not in the line. They're not in the guide. Fingers move a lot, so don't always just draw them in like a certain way. Then from there, each one of these is going to be a nice little cylinder. And again, like I said, top of those are knuckles. You can add as much detail as you want to each piece. And your thumb just comes from the connection with your wrist towards the middle of your palm. And that's how you draw your wrist. Hey, how's it going? Okay, so let's recap all the Chibi stuff and all the stuff that we started this stream for, right? So we are on our second page. So let's recap a little bit. Let's go back, okay? So we learned how to draw really cute little characters with 2 shapes, 2 simple shapes. And we're gonna recap that. We're also going to learn how to draw body parts for them and how to use overlapping shapes to be able to create them in fun little dynamic poses. So characters that have their head bigger than their bodies tend to be very weird to draw sometimes, because it's really hard to understand how the head connects to the body. On a normal human body, we would use the collarbone to indicate the head being a little bit smaller than the rib cage. You would have the different sections of your body, like your hip bones and your arms being all proportional because they're coming out of the right spots, right? So this is a normal human body. Proportions are a little cartoony, but whatever. You guys get the idea. Now, a chibi character is more of a character that has a really big head compared to their little tiny body. Okay? This doesn't really have much of a collarbone to be able to use to be able to guide your head out. Right? So it's important to just have a slight overlap with your head shape so that you don't have to draw the neck. That is crucial in drawings like this. If you draw angles, like if you draw this character looking up, right? If you draw this character looking up, all of a sudden you have to account for that bottom part underneath their neck. And since there's really no anatomical way to connect to your ears when they're all the way out here, connecting here, it becomes a real nightmare to be able to map that out properly. So you always have to rotate the head with the body. In this case, if the bottom of my head is here, my body ends right there. That way it never, ever, ever becomes an issue. So you always have to account for that. Those angles will always be the most difficult to draw with little chibi characters. But other than that, it's a really fun art form. Because all you got to do is account for two big shapes. One big head shape that has most of its features below the midline. If that's the midline, most of your features should fall below the midline. The reason that you draw them below the midline is so you have a bigger forehead. The bigger forehead is going to give you a more kid-like feel to them. And when you add things like hair or ears or anything that you feel like making them cute, it makes it even bigger. So therefore gives you an even more kid-like personality to them. The bottom shape, you're going to draw this like a little egg and you're going to divide it into 4 by drawing 2 circles going around. Foof, foof, foof. The lower ones become the legs. The upper ones become the arms. And just like that, you came up with a little chibi character. Now you can dress them up any way you want. And if you really feel like getting a little bit more perspective, you can bring that front arm up so that it actually gets seen as opposed to being behind your character. You can always give them little things like tails, mouths like animals if you guys want, but you guys can make little characters like that really easy. Big head shape, features below the midline, again, it's not just for placement, it's because the forehead gets bigger if you draw the features underneath. So if you draw your features underneath the midline, it's going to look a little bit cuter. Overlap a smaller shape and divide it into 4. Use the bottom 2 to draw your feet. Draw the upper ones. Draw your little nubbies for your hands. Congratulations, you have mastered Chibi drawing. That's literally it. That's all it takes to learn that. It's one of the simplest forms of art. As you get better, it doesn't have to stay cute. You can always draw anything, really. Right? And then just draw them with a little tiny body. And you can make any character into a little chibi character. La, 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 la. So it should be a lot easier for you guys to create your characters with the styling that you want once you understand that the little body underneath is literally just something split into fours. And as long as you learn how to overlap those lines properly, you guys will never have an issue drawing really cute little characters. In the way that you want. So again, big voluminous shape. You can draw it as a sphere. All my features are gonna fall underneath the midline, and I just overlap. I can make this as tiny as I want, by the way. It doesn't have to be like a certain size. This could be as tiny as I want it, as minuscule as I want it, as big as I want it. The amount of perspective and stuff like that that you can add to this is much easier because it's such simpler shapes, right? So if you try to apply a lot of this sort of movement to an actual human body, it becomes a little bit harder. But overall, this should be in your arsenal regardless, because it's just super cool to be able to draw anything you want really, really quickly with a little chibi body. If you try to do this with like an actual human body, you would have to account for where the shoulder blades would go. You would have to account for the hip bones. And then like this would be kind of like foreshortening, right? So you would have like one leg pointing down and then the other leg would be pointing forward, but it's not quite, it actually is quite forward. It would be like this. The arms would be pointing down. So it's considerably harder to come up with the pose if you have to draw it with like actual human proportions as opposed to little chibi ones. So you can start with little chibi ones, and then once you've mastered the concept of splitting the body in fours, right? Once you divide this into like Patrick Star enough that you understand this division of shapes, you'll eventually be able to learn how to draw that with volume. And then once you learn that concept, going from that to drawing an actual human is just about adding an extra little element and learning a little bit more about your your structures. So even drawing little chibi characters like that can help you understand how to draw a human body eventually. So you go from splitting in two to adding an extra section for your abdomen, and then you have a body of 3. And if you have that section of 3, that divides into your arm space, your ab space, and your leg space. And once you get that, it becomes a little easier. So now I'm going to open it up for questions about this chibi stuff, right? Anybody have any questions about how to draw or how we approach these chibi characters? How to avoid same face syndrome? Stop drawing the same face. Like, what? Like, learn how to draw the face differently. How I draw poor in perspective? Well, that seems more like a statement than a question. I can't help you if I can't see your work, and I'm not going to stop the stream to go see your work. So unfortunately, I can't answer that. Can you show how to draw one eye? Just one eye. You want to learn how to draw one eye. Okay, so if you want to learn how to draw a single eye, it's 3 circles. 1, 2, 3. And if you change the size of those circles, you can get different looks. So if an eye is those 3 circles, right, our eyelids are just going to be hemispheres on that circle. So now that we know how to draw an eye, let's make that into a little chibi character. Or did you mean like a character with a single eye? Like a character with just one eye in the middle? Because either one would be kind of cool. So I'm not sure exactly what you meant, but or did you mean draw a character like an eye? Which can be done too. Oh, I guess a pirate. Okay, so if a character only had one eye, like one of their eyes was broken, right? So you would draw one eye, maybe the other one would be like blank because you wouldn't be able to, like, it'd be blind. You'd have your eyebrows, and then around this, around your head, you would have like something like an eye patch. So you have to see how that would wrap around your head. cover the eye, and that's how you would draw something like that. How to bend the Chibi's arm and legs. Okay, so in order to learn how to bend something like this, like a little nubby that comes out of like a circle, it just takes learning a little bit about overlapping lines. Okay? So let's say that this is our body and our shape, right? If we wanted to bend any of these, we still have to find half of it, right? And then bend it. Like you still have to understand how volume works to be able to bend these simple little shapes into different things. You can get really expressive with them by just learning a tiny bit of how overlapping works. You see how much depth you can get from a little simple like overlap shape? It's kind of crazy, right? By just learning how to overlap a little tiny bit of lines, you can create a lot of depth. So when you go ahead and you draw these characters, again, we draw all your features towards the bottom side. And then our body is going to be a little circle split into 4. These little overlapping lines can overlap into each other and create little folds, little elbows, little poses really, really quickly. I've been watching you forever and I'm pretty sure you're magic. That's funny. That's kind of silly. Split it into 4. Each one of these is a nubby. Yay! This guy's gonna be chilling on a towel at the beach. Chibis are so often just move the entire limb as one. Yeah. Yeah, normally chibis will like have like their character traits is that they just move everything in one. You know, they're like normally off balance a little bit, but they normally just shake their little limbs like, yeah. It's not normally a very much concern about the anatomy of them because it's such a simple character trait. All right, so question time. All right, mods, if you see any interesting questions, let me know, put them up. I'll be right back. I'm going to refill my coffee and we're going to keep going. But just here, I'll leave you guys with like a zoomed out version of the page so you guys can start like the page, like the stream. Liking it makes me happy. And a happy rod means more knowledge. So keep them coming. All right. We are back. Any advice for someone who is coming back to drawing sketching after a 10-year break? Yeah, consistency. Now that you're back, now that you got the itch again, right? It's going to be really easy for you to over exert yourself trying to just catch up. Don't do that. So now that you're getting back into it, the easiest way to stop completely is to try to like force too much too quickly and to like expect a lot from yourself right away as you get back into it. Odds are, if you have not drawn in a while, it's going to take a while for you to get back even to the level of art that you were before. So feeling discouraged is not, getting frustrated is not going to help you at all. So understanding that your journey is going to be that a little bit, it's going to take you a little bit to get back to where you were, but from there you should actually learn a lot quicker, mostly because you're going to already have a lot of knowledge before, right? So it's not like you're just going to start from scratch at all. Just try your hardest to if you're going to learn from me at least, if you're going to learn from my lessons, it's going to be good for you because you're not going to use the same rules that other people apply, right? So it's going to be like learning how to draw 2.0. So that might actually help you be able to see things a little bit different than you would otherwise. And then maybe that approach is going to benefit you more than hurt you and make you feel frustrated. How do you maintain fluidity in your line mark? And any tips for the line confidence while experimenting? Okay, so experimenting is all about fucking up. Okay, so let's get that shit out of the way, right? You don't experiment and expect things to look pretty, right? You don't. If you're like trying to figure out how something works, it takes going into your sketch multiple times and seeing like, okay, if I draw the head that big, it's gonna look weird. If I draw the head that big, it's gonna look a little bit better. If I draw it like this, it looks perfect. Awesome. How do I relate this to this? And how do I make that look better? Okay, so if I draw it like that and I see these proportions, it's kind of like a box with a little bit more of extended on the top than the bottom. Cool. If I split this in half, how much do I see on here? Okay, so I see a little bit of that circle still if I split it in half, so that could be a good measurement for this. But then I have to account for this space right here, so how do I do that? Well, I do that by eliminating that whole section right there. It's easy to measure up to here. Cool. So if I measure up to here, I know that that's going to be roughly the measurements. From there, I know that my nose and everything else is going to come out from there. So boom. Little by little, you start analyzing everything that you do. And if as long as you are actually paying attention and you take notes and you actively tell yourself, okay, this looks weird, let's move it back, and then adjust everything after that, now it looks more like a box. So now any box that I draw, I can start figuring out how things go. Okay, cool. Halfway is about the ear. The face is going to be in the front right here. So now I can start drawing human skeletons really quickly by just measuring where things go. If I split it in half, what happens? It hits roughly where my eyes are, so my eyes can go in the middle. Cool. So that keeps it perfect. So it's like half, 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 half. And I start figuring out things that fit within those parameters so that any time that I draw this, even if I draw this in a different angle, right, that half line, and that half line is going to tell me where my ear is. That's going to tell me where my eyes go. Cool. So I have at least those two measurements that I can go off, and then I can start measuring everything else. And things like that are how you are able to use the same mapping systems to be able to draw in multiple perspectives really easy. Because all you have to do is find that midpoint, and then you have access to all the other knowledge. How do you draw cross-legged? Well, right now I don't have my legs crossed. I have my legs straight. So if I draw with my legs crossed, I know that's not what you meant, but if I draw with my legs crossed, my circulation to my legs goes away. So I draw like this. Sitting on my chair. But if I had to draw myself with crossed legs, I would find my hip bones first, and then I would find out how I want to cross my legs. Normally, your thighs would come out a little bit, and then from there, you would just crisscross the bottom part of your legs. This is just overlapping lines going around, right? Understanding how this foreshortens, this is normally where people mess up because they don't know how their actual muscles work. They just draw shapes. They just think that the bottom part of the calf right here just lifts for no reason. This is lifting because your foot is underneath here. So if your normal calf bone or calf muscle is kind of like this, right? Okay, what happens if you stuff a foot down here? It's going to push that muscle up. That muscle is a muscle that wraps around your whole leg. So this is going to get pushed, and you're going to see that a little bit more on top than the bottom because there's a foot pushing into it. And the same thing happens here. The heel is like digging in there, so it lifts a little bit of that. The foot is pushing up a little bit here, so it lifts a little bit of that. This right here, depending on the thickness of the person's thighs, it goes up to the kneecap and then down. Up to the kneecap and then down. This kind of looks like chicken. From here, the meaty part of the thigh is going to cut into your hip bone, and it's going to create the little squish zone that I like to call. From there, you have your rib cage, your abs, and that's how you would do it. Now, if you had this, I wouldn't do it from a frontal view because that's boring. So I would probably do it from the side so that I could do like the floating yogi pose. And then that way I can just tuck the feet in there. If you have like baggy pants, that's where the pants would like fall over because of gravity. Yeah. How do you draw a chibi in profile? Well, you draw your big head shape. Let's draw a little profile chibi. Yay! Okay. You close your head shape and you draw your little body. How to draw baggy pants. Well, first you need to learn how to draw legs, right? So if you learn how to draw legs, regardless if it's just a straight line and you only know how to draw legs as a straight line, that's kind of cool too. You just need to learn that it connects it at an angle at the top. That's literally it. That's the trick about legs. If you understand how they connect at the top at an angle, you're golden. Like you literally, any shape you draw, as long as you give it a little triangle at the bottom, you have your hip bones. Like, it's so incredibly intuitive, like, if you just do that. If you do any shape at all, right? Give it triangle for hip bones, and then you can draw legs coming from there really easy. This person's really fat. They even have lumps on the back. So yeah, add a triangle at the bottom of any shape, and you have the makings of hip bones really easy. So that's one way that you guys can approach it. Yeah, any triangle, and then you add a circle at the side of the triangle, and then you can use more dynamic poses. I see you draw some of your lines slightly down in certain poses. Can you elaborate why? Okay, you mean like here on the legs? So when you're drawing legs, this is going to be really cool for you guys. When you're drawing legs, you have the option of drawing your legs in both. If you draw them like this, you're drawing them on a flat plane, right? That's what you're doing. You're drawing them on a flat surface. Somebody is standing on something right here. If I draw them with the feet looking down, I now have given this character a different perspective. It no longer is in one little view. Now I can draw him in 3/4. So by drawing my shapes in unconventional ways, I can just follow those and create myself a ground for them that is going to be more dynamic. Doing it like this looks really flat. Doing it like this makes it look much more dynamic. So if you take your shape and you always draw them flat like this, well, that's kind of boring. That's just ugh. But if you draw them that same shape, but just with the foot pointing a little bit different, right? It just becomes a more dynamic pose. I don't know why. I can't explain it to you, but it just makes it look better. Especially if you don't have like a set like ground yet. If you don't have like a set ground, the ground can be anything. Right? It doesn't have to always be flat. You can always just draw like a ground plane. Draw your character touching it. And all of a sudden you have a character doing something within a certain plane that you are liking. Maybe surfing or something like that. See what I mean? Oh, yeah, we got distracted. So once you understand how to draw a human leg, right? Well, a baggy pants is just a parallel shape to this, but just with more volume at the end. So you can go all the way extreme and make like bell-bottom pants. Or you can have something a little closer to your body that just has a couple wrinkles at the bottom. The level of bagginess that you choose is going to depend on how much material you want outside of your actual leg. How baggy do you want it? Do you want it? You can have it as baggy as you want, or as close to your body as you want. Again, it's just about understanding volume, and you can find volume in any shape by drawing circles around it. You can increase that volume by making those circles bigger. This is helpful when you're trying to do clothing. Okay? So you're trying to do socks, you're trying to do feet, you're trying to do shoes, all that stuff. It's super easy to do if you just think about it like that. All right. Any questions, my friends? Anybody here have any questions about what we have learned so far? The main concept is just chibi bodies, chibi concepts, chibi posing, stuff like that. So, Mr. Insomniac, if you see any good ones, make sure to pin them. Oh, man. How do I draw my head in my normal style? Well, my normal style, what I like, is very different than what I can do. So I like drawing my heads really simply. Like I straight up enjoy drawing my heads kind of like this. To me, nothing beats a nice little simplified version of me. So whenever I'm drawing, I like to draw myself a lot. Oh, thank you for going live. You talked me through my seizure attack. Oh, 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 that's so good. I made someone better today by just talking. My brain. That's so cute. Like, not that you had an attack. I'm so sorry you got an attack. It's just like adorable that I'm getting to the point where I'm actually helping people by just talking. That's so cool. Oh, thank you so much. That was like a really awesome compliment, regardless of it not maybe being a compliment. How do you get better with drawing different body types? Well, if I told you that it's really easy to draw different body types, you'd probably think I'm bullshitting you, right? But the actual idea behind knowing how to draw different body types is about just learning what's inside of your human body. And if you learn what's inside of your human body, you can draw characters in any sort of styles if you understand a little bit more about how and what deforms your human body. So if you want to draw things with long legs, you can draw characters like pinups by drawing big hips, little rib cages, and long legs. Okay. You can draw characters like superheroes by drawing big upper bodies, little hip bones, and big muscular legs. If you notice, the shapes are the same shapes, just differently applied, right? Big upper body, wide chest, gives me a big burly guy like, I don't know, like a lumberjack or something, like rah. If I draw somebody like this, kind of looks like a person with baggy pants or something, or somebody slouching or whatever. This one obviously looks like a little pinup. And then this one, if you added the really wide shoulders and stuff, you could have a nice little superhero. So getting used to drawing different body poses is all about getting comfortable understanding how those body parts work with each other. You can draw any body shape, any body pose you want, as long as you feel comfortable understanding what is inside of this human meat suit that we have. And how they're not different entities. For example, your head is not a completely different entity than your body. Like most of the time, the width of our head is the width of our neck, which is the width of our face, which is the width of how it connects to our body. Right? There is normally very little differentiation in width when it comes down to our neck and our bodies. So understanding that, first of all, that takes a while because everybody thinks that the head is some magical object that's floating on top of the human body. And then how do you connect that? How do I draw the neck? How do I draw this? I'm like, well, stop drawing it like a completely different part. Like, the reason you're drawing it bigger than the rib cage is because you see it looking really cool and how other people draw it. So since we draw so many cartoons, we're so used to drawing the head as a completely different element to our body. But it's literally just a nub that just sticks out of the top of a rib cage. This is more akin of how your rib cage works with your body than this. So we complicate shit so much, like so much, when it's literally just a little nub at the top of our head. And we can have that head structure that in the proportions that we really want. So first of all, we got to stop thinking in the form of style if you want to get better at actually building style. You got to stop drawing in someone else's style and develop your own by learning and adapting and taking notes and just overall trying to improve your way of understanding, not just replicating somebody else's way of distorting anatomy. Because the person that taught you how to draw like this, the person you copied that was drawing really cool anatomy in like really distorted ways, well, that person is a person like me. That person is a person that understands anatomy to like a huge extent, even though it might seem like super simple cartoons. Right? These people are at the top of their field, creating designs that are meant to be appealing, but they're all based on these concepts and different techniques that they have developed to develop the anatomy in the simple ways that they need to be able to replicate that 1,000 times over with the animators and the storyboard artists. So it's not just like, let's draw something cool. No, it's like, let's draw something cool that can be animated. Let's draw something cool that other artists can actually replicate. And that's why we find it appealing, because we can actually draw it, right? Like, the reason that we get so fascinated by anime and manga and stuff like that is because it's simplified anatomy, so it's easy to draw. So, and that makes us proud. Being able to draw something efficiently makes us happy, makes us proud, makes us excited to be able to draw that next thing, and that's necessary. So at first, as you're learning, you need to learn to be proud of what you're doing, because you're doing something cool. As you progress into your career, it has to stop about drawing something cool, and it has to start being about drawing something accurate, right? And that distinction is so hard to deal with. That distinction is really hard to come by to some people, right? People don't want to leave behind the I'm drawing pretty things, I'm cool, I want to just keep being cool. And they never progress past that point. And that's when you start seeing them complain 10 years later, like, well, how come this person has achieved this and I haven't? How come this person did this and I never got that chance? How come this person got this deal for this? Their artwork wasn't even that good 10 years ago. Well, 10 years is a long time. And if you stay in the same place, you're going to see a lot of people pass you. A lot of people you never expected. People that took the time to learn this stuff. The thing is, the level of skill of growth you're gonna see once you start developing your eyes to look a little bit deeper, the growth you're gonna see is going to be so incredibly exponentially high because you already have everything else. You've probably spent your whole career learning how to make something look pretty. It's just a matter of learning how to make it look accurate now. And that doesn't take that long. So don't think that if you approached it differently at first, it's a waste of time. Not at all. No, you guys are primed to become beasts, like beasts in this stuff. And it's just a matter of getting out of that mindset that's telling you, I can't. It's not what I like to do. Well, if it's not what you want to do, you probably wouldn't be watching me anyways. So if it's something that you actually want to learn and pursue better, it starts with understanding that we need to learn more. It begins with the understanding that we are not at a level that we want to be in. And with an open-mindedness to, again, forgetting some of the previous lessons you've learned so that you can actually advance. I'm an artist myself, and I love that artists can help other artists. Yeah. You know, as a person, as a veteran in my field, which is I kind of am at 40 years old, having done this for like 20 years, I'm a veteran illustrator. Like I'm a person that's actually done this for 20 years without starving to death, which I technically would say would qualify as a person that's a veteran in the field. So once you become knowledgeable with the industry to a certain extent, you start understanding what was important and what wasn't. And obviously for me, it's too late to go back in time and change that, but it isn't for you guys. So with all the information that I give you guys is to help you on your own journey, which you're about to embark or you're embarking on already. And hopefully you don't have to deal with all the frustrations that came upon my career, because I am here to help guide you a little bit, even though I can't hold your hand or anything, but I can definitely give you some like heads up as to the things that will affect you in a heavy way if you don't pay attention to them. And not learning your anatomy, or more than the anatomy, the perspective. Holy shit, the perspective. Please focus heavily on perspective for like 6 months. Oh my God, you guys will never, ever, ever, ever. Like you guys will come back to me after like a month of doing it and be like, fuck you, Rod. Like this is boring as shit, blah, 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 blah. And then like a year later, you'll be like, oh my God, thank you so much for that. Like you guys will unlock something, it'll click, and you guys will be like, that's it. Well, that was it. That's the click. And once you get the click, that's all that really matters. Once that click happens, once that thing just magically just lights up that light bulb in your head, and we all get those moments, we're like, whoa. And something just magically clicks, right? That's like, I love that feeling. What do you do when what? What do you do when you don't know what pose to draw? Well, I wouldn't start drawing anything that was serious without knowing kind of what I wanted to draw anyways. So I wouldn't just start drawing. I mean, I do all the time, but if I actually wanted to draw something in a specific pose, I wouldn't just draw for drawing's sake. I would probably get some reference and start like looking at how I would draw something. But let's say that I don't have reference and I just want to kind of play around with my shapes. Well, I would create a nice basic shape like this. and create a very basic character in a very starfish pose, very, very standard. What you want to do is you want to find the connecting points to your body. These are going to be where your elements pivot from. So right now I have them sticking out like this, but once I find this connecting point, I can move them into any direction I want. As long as they connect back to that circle, I can draw these in any position, going in any direction I want. And when I start adding the feet, you start getting a very good idea as to how easy it is to be able to pose things because you have access to knowing where that thing connects. So once you have the connecting point to your body, it's all a matter of just finding the position that you want. Can you draw a spray can character? Spray can characters are typical graffiti-ish like characters. They normally go alongside your pieces, your bombs. And graffiti characters tend to be overly, exaggeratedly stylized. So yeah, there you go. As I had studied my fine arts from my experiences, I know how the general people think of us. What's your opinion on, oh, you're so talented, I could never do that? Okay, this is something that a lot of people disagree with, but hear me out. I believe that you should never take any compliment or any negative comment to yourself or your art seriously. And I mean, you should never take any compliment seriously either, because you never really know, or you can't really gauge if the person's being genuine or if they want something out of you. So the thing is, I don't really care what other people think of my art. I don't really care. I could give 2 fucks if anybody likes my work. I do my work for me. I don't do it to impress anybody. I don't do it to get fame. I don't do my artwork, and I have never done my artwork to impress anybody. The only person that I do my artwork for is for me. And if that love for that artwork is not there anymore at any given point, I reevaluate why I'm doing this career. And I constantly tell myself, am I still doing what I love, or am I doing this out of just being the only thing I love and know how to do? And I constantly ask myself that, as if I was in a relationship or something and I was going through counseling. Anytime that I'm having problems with how I'm feeling with happiness in my career, I ask myself these things. I tell myself, am I still okay with being an artist? Do I want to change? Do I want to pursue something else? What is it that I want to do? Am I still happy? Right? Am I doing the things that I love? Because that's more important to me than necessarily just following an art career for just following a career's sake. My life is more important in being joyous and happy than being an artist. If that makes any sense. So maybe I'm a teacher today. Maybe I'm a film director tomorrow. Maybe I go and I do podcasts, I do voice acting, whatever. My life is not a predictable thing. So therefore, I don't like to box myself in too much. If I am only giving myself the option of being an animator and I don't fulfill that, how is my brain going to feel? I'm going to feel like a failure. If I only set myself as the goal to be a fashion designer and I don't fulfill that, my brain is going to tell me I'm a failure. So, in order to avoid ever feeling like I'm a failure, I don't box myself in like that, because that's just going to lead to feeling like shit one day. Because you don't always achieve every goal you want. Regardless of, that's life. Like, we have all these dreams, but you're not going to achieve all of them. Okay? It's just not going to happen. So when you box yourself into a single dream, and that dream doesn't happen because you don't get to work for Nickelodeon or you don't get to work for Disney or whatever, it shouldn't be like oh, well, if I can't do this, then I don't want to do it. Just find a parallel path. Find a parallel path that's going to give you happiness. And there's so many paths in the art world that you can literally like have a new job every year if you wanted to. And as long as you are like kind of okay with working for companies, you can probably have a new awesome fun job every year that's different and teaches you something new. You just have to be open, and you have to be kind of okay with learning something new and like transitioning to new things and things like that. That's how I learned most of my skills. I just used jobs at school. A school that pays me instead of me paying them. Hey, good night, Insomniac. Thank you so much for moderating the stream. You are awesome. All right, guys. Well, we are pretty close to ending our stream tonight. So if anybody has any questions at all, we covered a lot of things tonight. So if you guys have any concerns or any questions about anything that we learned, please let me know now so that we can clarify them before we leave the stream. Do you think you can be an animator or work in the art industry without going to art school? Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I highly encourage it. I highly encourage you don't spend the stupid amounts of money that are needed to go to art school just so that you can learn the same things that I teach every single day to you guys, probably in a better way. With the stuff that I teach you guys can go into probably most like fields like storyboarding, character design, environmental art, I don't know, caricatures, portraits, fine art, graphic design if you really wanted to, anime, manga, comics, t-shirt designs. I don't know, you can be your own like illustrator, like kids books and stuff like that. You know, they teach everything. You talked about taking some time to learn perspective. What exercises would you suggest you practice? I highly, highly, highly suggest that you guys practice with circles. Sounds kind of silly. This is going to sound really silly, but practice drawing this. Draw a happy face. Okay? I want you to draw a circle, then draw a circle inside, and then draw a happy face on that circle. I want you to rotate that happy face around the entirety of that shape from top to bottom, left to right. Understand how to map features in every single direction of your sphere. The moment that you can do that, the moment that you can move a simple happy face in a circle, add an extra element to it. So start with a happy face, and this time add a nose. And then repeat the process. See if you can repeat that with the nose. In every way possible. Once you achieve that level of detail, you start progressing and progressing and progressing and progressing and progressing until you get to a point where you can draw all your details of your face in any direction you feel like. You have to start small. If you don't start small and you work your way up, you'll never get to where you need to be. You're always going to be stuck in that section of like, how do I do this? Where does this go? I don't understand this, right? And that happens because people skip their very basic perspective classes. How do you make a dragon? You have you're very lucky that I'm very patient tonight because you're spamming the shit out of this fucking like the thing. You are so lucky I am very patient today and I'm in a good mood. I normally ban people and block people for doing that. So don't do that. But I'm going to draw a dragon, highly encouraging you by drawing this dragon to never do that shit again. Deal? Perfect. All right, let's draw a little dragon. He's going to fit within this space. Zoom in. I'm so sorry. It's been me and I was going to redo your lesson. Sorry, I only did that because my attack. Oh, no. Somebody's been just posting that really like quickly right now. And I saw it over and over and I don't think it was you. So but anyways, we're drawing a dragon. He is not entertained. Let's give him some glasses. There you go. Dragon. How do you draw a man body? Well, you take a boy body and then you wait like 18 years and then it grows into a man body. I've been so much improvement in just a few weeks. I'll always be grateful for your lessons. Aww. Oh, my heart. My heart. My poor little heart can only take so much. Thank you guys so much. I was dreading spending my birthday alone, honestly. I was dreading it. But even though it's tomorrow, but it's not so bad anymore. It just feels like I just have to hop on here and have a fun day with you guys if I want to, you know? Thank you so much for being my support system. Shit, I don't know how else to explain it. Thank you so much for just being so supportive. Because honestly, at the end of the day, I love doing what I do, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I hope you guys have a fantastic night. I will see you guys tomorrow for another lesson with your favorite teacher and weird cartoonist slash dude that talks too much, RODGON. My heart. My heart. Clutch it. Clutch the heart. The feels. I just joined this live recently. Oh, too bad. Tomorrow at 8 a.m. I'm starting my streams a little earlier. So I'm starting at 8 a.m. Pacific. So we stay on for about like 1 or 2 hours, maybe. And then we go on our merry way. So join us tomorrow as we finish this sketchbook, because tomorrow we are going into the last page. We are going in. Holy shit. We're going into the last page. Ah! Oh, we have a couple more that we got to fill in. But oh my God. Yes. All right. Okay. Let's do this. Dance fingers. Freestyle. Yeah. Come on, Milky. Oh, man. Another sketchbook down. All right. So this one only took from... this one took remarkably little. This one was from October 25th. So October, November. Holy shit, a month. It took us like a month and a half. Less than 2 months. Is it October? No. Yeah. September, October. No. Yeah. Oh, shit. We finished this quick. We filled this up quickly, guys. Like, we fucking hammered this shit through. Wow. Okay. All right. I am proud of myself. Like, I thought I just barely finished the last one. And now we finished another one. Cool. Anyways, hope you guys have a fantastic night. Do I draw animals? Do I draw animals? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Is that an... that sounds like an insult to me. Do I draw animals? I feel like my feelings are hurt now. So now I'm just gonna go and sulk into my into a pillow. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I like to draw animals. A lot. No, don't worry. You don't have to be sorry. I'm just being an asshole. You guys have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for making my night. Seriously, you guys made my night. Like, you guys have no idea how much you guys helped me tonight. Maybe one day you will. But thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Love you all. Goodbye.